Okay guys, instead of filling out a worksheet today, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking notes in your notebook like we did in class, at the beginning of the year, and you've probably done before. So the first thing I want you to do is write the title. So this is section 5.5 and it is on standard form. And then we're going to have our objectives. So our OBJs, or our objectives, is you will be able to find the x and y intercept of any equation and graph using intercepts. So there's two things that you're going to be able to do by the end of this lesson, and then you will have an assignment. So the first part is we're going to find the y-intercept of the equation 3x plus 4y equals 24. Now last week we learned that one way to find the y-intercept is to find b. And so we could get this equation in y equals mx plus b form. And this problem actually works out fairly nicely, and that wouldn't be too difficult to do. But if you didn't care for that method, or maybe by now you've forgotten it, I'm going to show you another way. So I'm going to find the y-intercept, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute a 0 in for x. So if you need to pause the video in order to write that down, pause the video, write it in your notes, and then push play again. So I'm going to write the original equation 3, but instead of writing an x, I'm going to write a 0, and then I'll just finish out plus 4y equals 24. Okay, after I substitute that in for 0, what do I do? Well, step 2 says I'm going to solve for y. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to ignore all of the variables or numbers or whatever except for y. That's what I'm trying to solve for. So I first have to do this multiplication here, which is 0. So I have 4y is equal to 24. Remember, adding 0 to something doesn't matter. So essentially I just have 4y is equal to 24. So to get the y by itself, I'm going to divide by 4, and I'll get y equals 6. Because 24 divided by 4 is 6. So the y-intercept is 6. And just to remind you, what that means is on a graph, the y-axis, this means that it's going to cross at 6. And we'll play on to that in a little bit. Okay, now I actually have the same equation, except this time I want to find the x-intercept. So let's see, if I want to find the x-intercept, I want to substitute a 0 in for y, so it's the other one. And then when I go to solve it, that's when I'm going to solve for x. So to find the x-intercept, I have to substitute a 0 in for y and solve for x. So now I have 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 24. We know that 4 times 0 is just 0. So I have 3x is equal to 24. And then I'm going to divide by 3 to get x equals 8. So again, an intercept is the line. So the x line is the horizontal. And this is going to be at the spot of 8. Now, and that's why we plug a 0 in for y, because think about the ordered pair here. The ordered pair is 8, 0. So that is why we plug a 0 in for y. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and graph this using the intercepts. So let's just remember, my y-intercept was 6, and my x-intercept was 8. So I'm going to go on my graph, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a dot on 6. And then unfortunately, let me change colors here for you. So my x needs to be 8. My graph doesn't quite go to 8, so let's just go out here and I'm going to write an 8 under that. So it's probably a little smush, but it's because it's at the edge. And then I'm going to draw as straight of a line as I possibly can, connecting the two dots, and I'm going to put arrows on the end. So another way to graph this line would be to find the two intercepts. Any 2 points will help you graph the line. Okay, now what you're going to do, if you would like, you can go back through and review these in your book. Like I said before, it's section 5.5, and these were examples right from your book. There are also additional examples, and in your iBook there are some interactive lessons, so you may go through those. And then I want you to do 8 through 22 even. Now, when you get stuck, look at the section that it's in, and then maybe go back and look at that problem. So the first section on page 759, that's from problem number 1, which I did on page 1. And then the next section is from problem 2, which I actually did on page 3. And then the last section is on page 4, which is also on page 3. So look through them, see if you can figure out how to graph your lines and how to find your x and y intercepts, and then bring me any questions that you have.